What's good, YouTubers and YouTubettes? This is JB Sports back again with another one. Gonna talk about Terrence Bud Crawford, #1 pound for pound fighter on my list. We're gonna talk about him in his next fight coming up and talk about how that will affect his potential future showdown with Errol Spence Jr., the WBC and IBF welterweight champion. As you know, Terrence Bud Crawford is a WBO welterweight champion. So those two guys hold 3 of the 4 major belts at the welterweight division. Now the other belt is the WBA title, which is held by Manny Pacquiao, the senator from the Philippines. So those 3 guys are the king holders at the welterweight division. Now we're going to talk about Terrence Bud Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. Now, first of all, Bo Mack, that's Terrence Crawford's manager and trainer, has came out and said that Terrence Bud Crawford has opponent locked down. So they've got a fight pretty much already in place. It's just that the coronavirus pandemic that's going on in the United States has prevented that fight from being announced. Now, Fred from Barbershop Conversation asked him, now, when are we going to see the fight between Bud Crawford and Shawn Porter? And Bo Mack's response was, well, where was Shawn Porter when he had the WBC title? Why was he not calling out Bud Crawford when he had the WBC title? Now that he's lost the WBC title to Errol Spence Jr., we're not interested. That's basically what Bo Mack said. Now, that's a troubling on so many levels answer to why he's not fighting Shawn Porter. You know, first of all, Top Rank don't have a deep stable of top welterweights over there. So for Shawn Porter and his dad, specifically his dad, to come out and say, hey, you know, Bob, here, make the call us. And we're very interested in a fight between Porter and Crawford. And for Bo Mack, who wouldn't be coming out with this statement without, you know, talking to his fighter, Bud Crawford, to come out and say, hey, man, we're not interested in Shawn Porter. He doesn't have a title. That's very troubling. Now, from what I'm hearing, the 2 opponents that it's going to come down to for Terrence Bud Crawford next fight is going to be Josecito Lopez. You know, that guy there is a warrior. Guy's been in there with tremendous fighters on his resume. Good fighter, but not a top-level fighter. And Ray Robinson. Those are the 2 fighters that are being prominently mentioned from what I'm hearing through the grapevine as Terrence Crawford's next opponent. And now one of those fighters are on the level of Shawn Porter. Let's just be real about it. Now one of those 2 are on the level of Shawn Porter. Josecito Lopez, Riverside Rocky, as they call him, has been in there with some good fighters. He's fought Canelo. He's fought Victor Ortiz. He's fought Andre Berto. He's fought John Molina. He's been in there with some good fighters. He's fought Keith Thurman. So he's been in there with some A-level fighters, no doubt about it. But unfortunately for him, he's not won none of those fights. You know, he beat Victor Ortiz, broke his jaw in one of the upsets of that year. And he lost to Canelo, you know, which he was at a big weight disadvantage, as Canelo was a much bigger fighter. And then put on top of that, the much more skilled fighter, it pertained itself to a beatdown by Canelo Alvarez over Riverside Rocky. Then he fought Keith one-time Thurman. That was a good fight. He put up a good effort in that fight. He came up short against Keith Thurman, who had been out a year, so was very rusty. And, you know, not the Keith Thurman that we knew before that fight. So he lost to him. Andre Berto stopped him. And Andre Berto is, you know, a solid fighter. You know, I say a top 15 welterweight, you know, but at that point in time, Andre Berto was on the downside of his career. Lost to him. And who else he fought? He fought Victor Ortiz is probably his best win. And at that point, Victor Ortiz was top welterweight. I think he had just came off of a loss to Mayweather, which is no shame in that. But he had defeated Andre Berto in a fight of the year when they fought. That was a very, very exciting fight. So I say that's his best win. Now we look at Ray Robinson. Ray Robinson has, just be real about it, has beaten nobody. He's been in there with some decent competition, but he hasn't beaten nobody. Ray Robinson fought Ugas, Yordanis Ugas out of Cuba. Fought him, got beat down too, beat decisively. fought Ugas. He fought Igor Kovalaskis. Y'all know him, the Green Machine. Last seen getting knocked out and stopped by Terrence Crawford. Fought him in a very boring fight. You know, made Kovalaskis fight his fight, Ray Robinson. And he got a majority draw in that fight, Ray Robinson. One judge had him winning, and the other two judges had it a draw. But when I watched that fight, I thought Kovalaskis won the fight, but it was a very, very boring and very, very underwhelming fight. I had Kovalaskis winning that fight 7 rounds to 5, 115, 113 that fight. But for the two judges to have it a draw, it was a lot of close rounds where wasn't either fighter doing much in that round, wasn't either fighter landing any effective punch in that round. So you swing one round that I gave to Kovalaskis to Ray Robinson, you could have that fight 6-6. So in that fight there, he didn't get the win either. So those are two notable opponents on his resume, and he's beaten nobody. But those are the two opponents that Terrence Crawford is looking at. Top-ranked boxing, and in particular, Bob Arum, obviously don't want to pay what it's got to pay to make a Crawford-Porter fight happen. Now, Crawford fights Porter. That fight will obviously have to be on pay-per-view based on what each fighter is making in their previous fights. Now, Shawn Porter was the last seen doing a pay-per-view with Errol Spence Jr., and that pay-per-view did, I think, 275,000 pay-per-view buys. I think both fighters probably walked away with a $5 million plus each. So, somewhere between 5 and 10 million each fighter walked away with. So that pay-per-view was a success. So he's going to be looking to make around that amount of money or maybe higher due to the fact that his brand has grown since the Errol Spence fight, that being Shawn Porter. We've heard that Bud Crawford in his contract with Top Rank makes a bare minimum of $3+ million per fight. Now, you put him there with a guy of Shawn Porter's caliber, he's going to want at least $5 million or more. So that fight there will have to be on pay-per-view due to the purses both fighters are going to command. So you put that fight on pay-per-view, that means Top Rank's got to put up a lot of money. And for those fighters to get their payday and for Top Rank to make money, they would have to put a lot of revenue, a lot of dollars behind that fight. And Bob Arum and Top Rank are unwilling to do this at this point. Put up that type of money for Bud Crawford and Porter. That's why when all this noise was going on about Terrence Crawford and Shawn Porter fighting, it was just smoke and mirrors, But Bob Arum threw his name out a few times just to appease the fans, just to appease the fans and the people calling out for that fight, but he never had any intentions of actually trying to make that fight due to the fact that we heard Shawn Porter's father, Kenny Porter, saying he's waiting on a phone call for Bob, and Bob never made that call. Now, Bob came out in a statement about a month ago when all this stuff was going on saying that, Shawn Porter said that Bob Arum is not going to make this fight happen. Kenny Porter or nobody in PBC is going to make this fight happen. The only way this fight is going to happen is me and Terrence are going to sit down, talk, and discuss this fight. And we meaning Bud and me, are the only ones that are going to agree to make this fight happen. And from what I've heard and from what I've known, that meeting has not taken place and ain't scheduled to take place. So that wasn't nothing but, again, smoke and mirrors by Shawn Porter saying me and Bud would have to sit down. And you've not heard Bud Crawford say too much of nothing about that fight. He basically co-signed what Porter said in so many words, but he hasn't been as vocal as Shawn Porter saying, hey, we need to sit down. It's only me and Bud that's going to decide if we're going to fight or not. You ain't really heard Bud Crawford really say too much of nothing about that fight. You can tell through his comments when the fight has been brought to him that he's not enthusiastic about fighting Shawn Porter for whatever reason. He said they're friends, but if you're friends, Shawn Porter, didn't he just get married not too long ago? Why wasn't Terrence Crawford at the wedding? If y'all so-called great friends and buddy and ace boom cools and tied at the hip and all this, that, and the third, why wasn't why wasn't Terrence Crawford at Shawn Porter's wedding? So that's a bunch of BS smoke and mirrors. Outside of y'all being brothers like Vladimir and Vitaly, that's the reason why they never fought when they were the two best heavyweights for about probably 10 years. during the 2000, early 2000s, all the way through probably 2010, 2012, somewhere in that range, when they were dominating the heavyweight division, and you knew they couldn't fight because they was actually brothers. Y'all are acquaintances. I'm not gonna say y'all great friends. Y'all acquaintances. Y'all know each other. Y'all probably came up in the amateurs together and got to know each other during that time. But it's not like y'all out fishing. Bud Crawford likes to fish. Ain't like when I was watching Bud in his fishing videos. He got Shawn Porter right next to him with a hook in the water. I don't never seen that. You know what I'm saying? Never seen that. Never seen that. So let's cut out all the BS about y'all being friends. Terrence Crawford don't want to fight Shawn Porter for whatever reason. I ain't saying he's scared or nothing like that. He's not a scared coward, like Mike Tyson said in Lance Lewis' press conference. He's not a scared coward. I wouldn't put that label on Terrence Crawford, but I will say is he's not enthusiastic about fighting Shawn Porter for whatever reason. And now we're at the point where he's got an opponent lined up. Like I said, it hasn't been announced due to the coronavirus, but he has an opponent lined up. And from what I'm hearing, the two names that are being mentioned is Jose Cito Lopez and Ray Robinson. It's going to be one of those two opponents for his next opponent, and that's going to be met with a lot of disapproval, especially by Errol Spence fans and probably boxing fans in general. They're not going to be happy with that opponent. But when you look at Errol Spence, his next fight is going to be either Danny Garcia or Manny Pacquiao. Danny Garcia, top 5 welterweight. Manny Pacquiao, one of the greatest fighters of all time. And by the way, the WBA welterweight champion, and that'll be a unification fight. And here we got on the other side Terrence Bud Crawford fighting Jose Cito Lopez or Ray Robinson. Absolutely unbelievable. But as you say, like I said, all I can do is report the news, man. And Bomac said they're not interested in a Shawn Porter fight. If Shawn Porter had a title, they'd be fighting him, but he don't have a title, so they're not interested. Never mind the fact that Jose Cito Lopez ain't got no title either. Ray Robinson ain't got no title, but Shawn Porter, for whatever reason, got to have a title for you to fight him. Strange comments. Just make you wonder. Make that light bulb go out in your head. Like, what's going on? Why are y'all not wanting to fight Shawn Porter? It's a good fight, solid fight. You got two top welterweights meeting up. Shawn Porter just been in a good fight with Errol Spence. That'll be a good gauge to see how Terrence Crawford match up with a guy that gave Errol Spence problems in Spence's last fight. That would be a good gauge how he matches up with Terrence Crawford. If Terrence Crawford could go in there and get the win or possibly get the stoppage, that would enhance his resume, enhance his standing in the potential negotiation between Terrence Bud Crawford and Errol Spence. The road that Terrence Crawford is going down, you can fight the Jose Cito Lopez's and the Ray Robinsons of the world, but you beating those guys like that, they're not going to enhance your standing. And if you come into the negotiating table with Errol Spence Jr. for a fight, and you've just beaten those guys of that caliber, Igor Kovalaskis and Jose Benavidez and guys of that caliber, who else he beat? He beat Amir Khan in a fight that didn't do well on pay-per-view. Beat Jeff Horn. That's probably his best win at welterweight. Jeff Horn defeated Manny Pacquiao in a big upset out there in Australia. So that's probably Terrence Crawford's best win at welterweight. But you coming off that, you coming off those fights compared to Errol Spence Jr., who's beating Shawn Porter, who's beating Mikey Garcia in a big pay-per-view fight in AT&T Stadium in Dallas. He's beating Lamont Peterson. He's beating the top of the pop, beat Kell Brook. The comparisons at welterweight is a mismatch. Errol Spence has a much stronger resume at welterweight than Terrence Bud Crawford. And this probably is more of a problem for Terrence Crawford at the negotiating tables than anything, not so much as the fighters, which is especially on the side of Errol Spence Jr., the pay-per-view buys. When he fought Mikey Garcia, that fight did around 360,000 pay-per-view buys for Errol Spence and Mikey Garcia. Compared to 150,000 pay-per-view buys for Terrence Crawford and Amir Khan. Now, Terrence Crawford did a pay-per-view about three or 4 years ago that people don't never really want to bring up, but I'm gonna bring it up. He did a pay-per-view buy probably around about 3 or 4 years ago with Victor Postal. That was a unification fight at junior welterweight, which was in Las Vegas. That fight did around 50 to 60,000 pay-per-view buys. So you compare that to the lowest to Errol Spence and Shawn Porter, which did 275,000 pay-per-view buys. So what I'm saying that to say this, it's no way Terrence Crawford's gonna get 50-50. No way. Based on resume of fighters at 147 and based on pay-per-view buys, he ain't getting no 50-50. You know, that's why one of the reasons why I'm preaching and trying to get him to calling him out, basically trying to get him to fight Shawn Porter. Because I think that'll be a good fight as far as enhancing his resume at 147. Because Shawn Porter's got a hell of a resume. Him and Danny Garcia got the best resume at 147 by far. You know, he's got the great resume. They got great resumes overall in boxing. From active fighters in boxing, Shawn Porter and Danny Garcia got the two best resumes in boxing. So to get that win on your resume, get that feather in your cap, will be a benefit to Terrence Crawford. But him and his team don't have no interest in fighting Shawn Porter. So we all need to move on. But we all need to keep this in mind when the fight does get negotiated, that Terrence Crawford don't deserve 50-50. He came out here saying, I got a title and I should get 50-50. No. Just because you got a title, that ain't what it's all about. Canelo didn't have a title when he fought Golovkin, and he made more money in the first fight with Golovkin and in the rematch. And he had no title going into the first fight. So it ain't about who got the title. You remember when Mayweather fought Victor Ortiz? Victor Ortiz was the champion. I don't know if people remember that. Victor Ortiz had the belt. Mayweather didn't have no belt. But who made the most money on that fight was Mayweather, because he had the he had the name and had the resume, and he was the pay-per-view cash cow. And that's what we're looking at in this situation with Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence. Errol Spence Jr. is the pay-per-view cash cow in this negotiations. So he's going to get the larger cut. Now, Errol Spence might, be the good Samaritan and say, okay, I want to make this fight happen, and I don't want no excuses and stuff. People saying I'm ducking Terrence Crawford. I'm willing to give him 40% of the split. I'm gonna get 60, and if he does that, I salute Errol Spence Jr. The numbers say he shouldn't do that. He should get more than that, really, with the numbers. But if he want to just make the fight happen and squash all this commotion and all this noise that's been going on the last year and a half about him ducking Errol or Errol ducking him, and he want to make the fight happen to prove to the world that he's the best welterweight in the world, and he's willing to give Bud that discount, 60-40, in Errol Spence's favor, Terrence Crawford need to jump on that and don't look back. But jump on that and look back. He jump on that and look back. But that's up to Errol to decide if he wants to do that. But that's the best case scenario for this fight to happen, 60-40 for Errol. But if Errol really put his foot down, look at the numbers, and his team talk to him and say, look here, man, you can't get this guy 60-40, man. This is more like 70-30 if you just really want to know the truth about it. You compare the numbers. Compare the numbers and compare the fighters I'm fighting. I'm over here doing the heavy lifting. I'm fighting Danny Garcias of the world, the Manny Pacquiao's of the world, the Shawn Porters of the world. I'm fighting the Mikey Garcias of the world, the Kell Brooks of the world, the Lamont Petersons of the world. And here this guy here, he's fighting Jose Benavidez one leg, you know what I'm saying, or one leg at Jose Benavidez. He's fighting Igor Kovalaskis, the Green Machine. He's fighting Amir Khan, who's been knocked out and put to sleep more, he's been knocked out and put to sleep more than a drunk bum living under the freeway. You know what I'm saying? He's just been beat from pillar to post. You beating who else he beat? You beating that's basically his resume at 147. Has not beaten the names that Errol Spence have beaten. And you want to come to the table and you want to ask for 50-50? Absolutely not going to happen. I'm just being real about it. I ain't playing sides. Oh, you just an Errol Spence fan, JB Sports. Nah, I ain't no Errol Spence fan. I'm a realist. I love boxing. I know business of boxing. I know how this thing been working. I've been fighting boxing for too long. I know how this works. It ain't about really who got the belts, who got the most belts. It's about drawing power. What the numbers say. Who bringing in the people, who bringing fannies to the seat, who bringing eyeballs to the TV sets. And that's obviously Errol Spence over Terrence Bud Crawford, and that's why he's going to command the bigger purse and the bigger split in the fight. So we'll see what happens. We'll see what transpires, but you've heard it here first. Bo Mack came out and said Friday, that they've locked down an opponent for Terrence Bud Crawford. They've already locked down an opponent. We'll see what happens, but from what I'm hearing, the two opponents I'm hearing that it's going to be either they've locked down on one opponent, so they've chosen between these two. I know I've nailed it down to two opponents: Jose Cito Lopez and Ray Robinson. Those are the two opponents for Terrence Crawford's next fight. Don't know when it's going to happen. It was scheduled for the summer, but it's going to more than likely get pushed back to the fall. We'll see what happens when they finally come to announcement, and we'll see what kind of backlash Terrence Crawford gets when the opponent does get announced. We'll see what happens. We'll see what transpires. Leave your comments in the comment section if you think Terrence Crawford should fight Shawn Porter, or he should go ahead and fight another opponent, which they're talking about. Again, Jose Cito Lopez and Ray Robinson. Which one of those three guys you think should be Terrence Crawford's next opponent? Leave your comments in the comment section. This is JB Sports, the man, the myth, the legend. I holla.